Babylon Bee, a satirical website, the funniest website on the internet. Every time you name that website, do you know what you hear from the blue check marks on Twitter? I'm going to perform some ASMR. This is what you hear. Do you know what that is? That is the blue check mark seething. They are angry. They have foam coming out from their mouth. Do you know why? Because this website exists and it's speaking truth to power, to their power. So they are seething hard. And they tried taking it down. First, they summoned the most powerful entities on the internet. The wealthy, the 1%, the rich fact checkers who work for billion-dollar corporations. And the fact checkers, they use their power together to take down the Babylon Bee. And all they got was egg on their faces. They made a mockery of the fact checkers. They were such an embarrassment that when I got out and I said Snopes, people started going, ha 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 ha. They were laughing at Snopes. They were laughing at the 1%ers. The billionaires were at a disadvantage because they tackled the Babylon Bee. So then they summoned something even greater. They summoned the mind control device. They summoned the Trust and Safety Council of the Twatter. So they united their forces and they used their leftist chakra and caused powerful magics in order to take down the Babylon Bee. But that didn't work either. Twatter apologized. And since that day forth, they caused a blood ritual. They sacrificed a lamb in their unholy depths at Twitter and said, one day we shall have our revenge. We shall get you, Babylon Bee. And today was that day. Because you see now, there is conversation happening. The biggest threat to democracy is when people talk to each other over the internet. It is something very harmful and very dangerous to liberal society. But luckily, the 1%, the wealthy elites, they have the mind control device. They control social media. And social media can direct people into the right way of thinking, into the right way of conversation. The guardians of our democracy and liberal freedom have made absolutely sure that the Babylon Bee is unable to joke anymore. And as such, they used an excuse in order to get rid of them. This is due to the Babylon Bee naming Rachel Levine as the Man of the Year. Such powerful magic, such strong dark spells, such heresy cannot be allowed to stand. And as such, the Babylon Bee was struck down by the powerful elites who say, no, this is not funny. This is hatred. It is hate speech. Now, if you ask me what hatred is, how can I define it? I would define it with a frowny face. It's when people are upset. It's when people are angry. It's not satire. Satire is with a smiley face. Like satire is when people are happy, when they're laughing, but we live in the upside down world. And frowny faces are becoming smiley faces, and smiley faces are becoming frowny faces. This is what Twitter is telling us. This is how they control our minds for the benefit of democracy and for the benefit of ourselves. It is the council that I trust to keep me safe. The Trust and Safety Council. And their decree has came down like a hammer because they are a private company and can do whatever it wants, including telling you how to think. So, with that said, good news. Finally, the Babylon Bee, no more. They have been struck down and they will never rise again because Twitter says that in order for them to reinstate their account, they have to delete the tweet. See, Twitter gives you the opportunity to do the right thing. To do the right thing, it means doing what the progressive wants you to do. So that is the right thing. If you don't know, that is the definition. Maybe Webster Dictionary can change it. Like, be better, do the right thing means do what the left tells you. So, the owner of the Babylon Bee Twitter account refuses to do the right thing. So he's not going to get their account reinstated. Now, all jokes aside, I can see why they are trying not to do that. Because I have been using Twitter for quite a while. And there's two reasons why I use Twitter. Number one, to get the news for my channel. Like, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, if I wasn't having this channel, I would never use Twitter. It's a very bad place. It's where people get constantly angry and shout at each other. It's a social media platform that actively tries to manipulate you by changing the search results, by manipulating what's trending. The people in power are communists, not as an insult, but like they have the Marxist logo in their bio and they're proud of it. They're trying to shape society the same way the Catholic Church tried to shape the minds of people. I mean, this is not new, by the way. This is not new. Do you guys remember wrestling? Maybe some of you do. There was a wrestler with a gimmick. He was a perverted monk. So he dressed up like a monk and he would teabag his opponents and he would be very disrespectful. And the Catholic Church stepped in and said that that is offensive. So the Wrestling Association had to change this guy's character. Like, this is not new. That people with power try to impose their morality and what they think shouldn't be allowed onto the masses. Like, again, that wrestler had millions of fans, right? And you're doing a disservice to the fans because they're not allowed to see the wrestler. And it's really the same thing with the Babylon Bee here. You know, agree or disagree with them, they have millions of fans. And you're doing a disservice to the people by not allowing them to read their favorite website. Like, you're acting like Mummy and Daddy. And this is why most people don't like this type of behavior. Like, whether they agree with you or not, whether they think it's offensive or not, why shouldn't people be offensive? Like, who decided that people shouldn't be offensive? Again, South Park is offensive, right? Beavis and Butthead, all of these previous shows that we grew up with, like Jackass, and they were offensive. And are you telling me that I should feel edgy when I read the Babylon Bee now? Like, I should feel like I'm reading heretical literature? Like, I used to have to go in a graveyard with the other goth kids to be edgy, but now I can just sit home and read the Babylon Bee and I can pretend like I'm speaking truth to power, like I'm some sort of dangerous rebel that the banks are going to have to close my account because I create a danger to a rhetoric that can only be defended by shutting it down. That's literally like the off button is the only button that they got right now. It's literally the only defense that they have against the rhetoric. Shut it down. Shut it down. Make sure people aren't talking. As if people don't go out and talk in real life. As if, like, people don't go out on Telegram or on other social media websites and still talk about this shit. And then when the elections come, they go pick at your face. It's like, oh my God, how did this happen? I remember in the United Kingdom, if you guys followed the elections, they expected, like, a red wave. Red means, like, left in the UK. It means Labour. So they expected a red wave because if you got on Twitter, everyone was a progressive in the UK. Like, literally every single person in the UK was like progressive as fuck. And what happened is they got a blue wave. The Conservatives won. Why? Because people just went around social media and talked in real life where there are no terms of service. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's not fit for purpose anymore. Like, why do people go on social media? To talk about shit. Well, now you can't talk about shit. Now you have a chaperone at your table, making sure that everything you say is perfectly fine and appropriate. And if they disagree with you, they don't try to correct you or to lecture you. No, they just shut you down. Okay, fine. That's what it is. Now, I also want to point out that why the Babylon Bee is doing this, like why I don't think they use Twitter anymore. Because the only reason that they were using it for is to get clout. Is to put out their articles and people click on them, right? But recently, Twitter has changed its algorithm. So if you post something that takes you off Twitter, like if you post a YouTube video, if you post a news article, it doesn't get shared. Like, the algorithm doesn't promote it. So why would you use Twitter then? What's the point? I used to get around 25% of my traffic from Twitter. And right now, I get under 1% since they changed their algorithm. And it's not just me, by the way. Like, everyone experiences this because, as I mentioned before, any link that takes you off Twitter gets suppressed. Like, sometimes I can just do a random shit post where I don't post any links. I get 100 retweets. I get like 200 likes. But when I post a YouTube video, it barely gets like 2 or 3 retweets and maybe like 5 likes. So, yeah, I mean, like, they're gimping their website. There's no point to use. I generally don't understand why people use it. Again, I use it because I need to get access to some of the news from the people I follow. But if it wasn't for that, I'd stop using it. Everyone you meet on Twitter is already a radical. They already have their positions made, so you can't even have a debate with them. Like, when is the last time you changed someone's mind on Twitter or had someone else change your mind on Twitter? Like, that never happens. So it's like, it's an evil platform. It's an evil platform because they outright try to manipulate how you think. Like, they're open about this. They even pay people to do this. They pay people to guide you to the correct solution. So, like, why use it then? And as for Babylon Bee, like, they don't even need to be on Twitter. You know, they're such a popular website that whenever they post an article, people are going to share it anyway. So, lose for Twitter. I don't know. I mean, I personally think that Twitter will be the first social media to go. I honestly think that's the case. Out of all the social medias, Twitter is by far the worst. And it's also the easiest to replicate. I mean, replicating something like YouTube is a lot more difficult. Even replicating something like Facebook is difficult. But something like Twitter is incredibly easy to replicate. And again, because they are evil, outright so. I mean, I don't know how else to call it. You know, like, the fact that they're trying to manipulate people, and they are doing it in such a subversive manner by tinkering with your search results, by shadow banning people. And they outright lie, like they said they don't shadow ban. So shadow banning is like, you don't actually get banned. You just get under the label of being shadow banned, and when you post stuff, no one gets to see it. Like, you don't even know you have been shadow banned. That's pure evil. Like, why would you do something like that? And there's no recourse against it. You know, you can't file an appeal. If it was done by mistake, it is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of labor for people to create an account that has more than 1,000 followers, and all that labor is being taken away from you. And a lot of people would just not have used the platform if they knew how they were going to act. Let me remind people, Twitter used to be the free speech platform, right? It was about speaking truth to power, right? Well, apparently a satire magazine can't make fun of a politician now. Can't make fun of an admiral or a general or whatever. But you know, it is what it is. I'm pretty sure like people will have arguments on why the only solution has to be censorship. You know, they tried all the other methods, and censorship is literally the only thing on the table. And this has to be done in order to protect people, because otherwise some grave harm would come upon reality that cannot be averted any other way. Let me know what you guys think, though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.